Good morning. What's going on? Grace and peace, kingdom people. It's Apostle Terrence, Kingdom Media Foundation, Watchman Society. I have some great news I want to share with you. Just now finished a book. It should be showing up in about, I guess, maybe later on today or maybe tomorrow. But I was talking about this book that was written by myself, and Apostle Bernard Bolton, The Watchman Revolution. So that book is coming out, and it should be out anytime now. So I'll have it posted in here later on. But it's very exciting, very exciting. I've been studying Watchmen, what it means to be a Watchman, for 20 years now, 20 plus years. I came up as a prophetic minister, and learning about the prophetic, learning about how to hear the Lord, how to move in prophecy, in simple prophecy, edification, exhortation, and comfort, and then moving on from there to declaring the statutes and the commandments of the Lord. Good morning, in season, and learning what it means to rightly apply the word to situations for prophecy, building prophetic companies, training prophets, as I was learning, training prophets, going to those who are generals in that field, learning their books and digesting that information. But not just information. There's some things you can't just get from reading. You have to experience it. And I'm telling you, this book that we release, this book is a gate and a door, and it's going to propel you into greater dimensions in God. It's not just because I wrote it, but I'm a reader, and I can tell when a book has that thing on it that will put you in a different setting, put you in a different atmosphere, and get you in a different place and help you in your transition. Some people say, well, I'm not a watchman, I don't know nothing about watchmen, but truly, I would say, in some field, in some area, you do watch, and you do have a responsibility to watch and guard and protect a particular thing. There are different kinds of watchmen. Shepherds watch over their sheep. But you're a watchman. If you're a parent, you're a watchman in your home, watching over your family. Even at your physical home, if you've installed a home security system, what you did is you just installed a mechanical watchman, but it's still your responsibility. So you installed something to help you watch. But yeah, there's different kind of watchmen. There are watchmen who are on the rooftops. There are watchmen in the towers, watchmen in the field, watchmen in different areas. They have watchmen in media, watchmen in fashion. It's not just that if you're in that field, you're automatically a watchman, but if you have been called to be a seer, and if you've been called to say something, if you've been called to release something creatively, if you've been called, because understand this, what our old teaching, or our old understanding of a watchman is just somebody who shouts from the rooftop and says, danger, danger. And because watchmen are preservationists, and because watchmen are guardians, that is a part of their responsibility. But there's a great aspect of this field that we haven't experienced and we haven't understood before, and that is the creative watchman. And in this book is what we really begin to talk about, how God is calling creative people. He's calling innovative people. He's calling people with the gifts of art, gift of administration, the gifts that release new things in the earth. He's calling these people to be this generation's watchmen. And I break down, and Apostle Bernard breaks this down as far as why is God choosing and how is he choosing, and what is he looking for when he's looking to select a watchman for his people. and a watchman who would be a bridge builder to bridge the world into the church. It's a phenomenal thing. One of the things I wanted to talk about today, though, is just the concept, one of the concepts we deal with, and that is the importance of walls and gates. Now, politically, everybody has a lot to say about walls, and so if you say a word wall now, somebody's automatically thinking about grace and peace, Queen. Everybody's automatically thinking about the wall, building the wall to keep immigrants out or whatever. We're not talking about that, but the importance of walls. Just think about having a house with no walls, if that's possible. Walls are important because they give us boundaries and they help define different things. They separate the bathroom from the kitchen, from the, living room, or whatever the case may be, your bedroom. Walls give distinctions and makes it so that you can identify and categorize things according to their purpose. So God called us and called creative people, watchmen, to be on the wall and to be walls, to help categorize, to help separate, so that God can bring the division that he wants to bring. Now, when we hear the word division, most people think that division is always a negative thing. But division or dividing is not always negative. We need to divide things and separate things because God is a God of order. And sometimes creative people lack order in their life. And this is why he's calling watchmen in this day to bring order and governance to create the creative realm. Because creative people, and I know I've been around them, I'm one of them, and in our flesh we can be wild as can be. And because God uses our senses, and our senses play a part in even how he speaks to us and what we create and how in tune we are with our souls. But if you're just in tune with your soul and you're not governed by the spirit of order, then you're just being soulish, and the things that you create are going to only deal with the soul, and it's more than likely going to end up being something that the enemy can use for sorcery, for witchcraft. And I say those words, but even on a simplistic level, it can be things that the enemy can use to seduce. And that's what happens when you're a watchman who's called to be a watchman, that are just in their souls and not in the spirit. They become seducers, even by default. By default, they become tools and agents of the enemy. But walls are important. Not only are walls meant to divide, but the real purpose of the walls are for protection. And at the heart of every watchman, is the desire to protect, the desire to preserve. Now, if you go back to the original understanding, when God called Ezekiel to be a watchman, he says, sound the alarm. I've called you to be my watchman. And you're supposed to protect the people even if they don't want to be protected. Sound the alarm and say what I told you to say. If they hear you, it's good. Well, let me back up a little bit. First, he says, if you don't do it, the blood will be on your hands, right? So, but if they hear you, the people will be preserved. Everything is good. If they don't hear you, you still were obedient, but now the blood is on them. Now it's not on you. So we, have a call from God to preserve or to bring warning and protection for God's people to have the opportunity to be preserved. So that's why you hear, watchmen coming and talking about sin, talking about perversion, talking about things that would, destroy you. So that is one aspect, and that's the part that we've always heard all through any books that I've read, many books on watchmen and the prophetic ministry. But we're not just destroying, or we're not just warning, and we don't always have the negative message, which is needed at times because it's really positive, because it's trying to preserve you and keep you. But there's another aspect of it, and that's building. When God called Jeremiah, he told him, I want you to tear down, uproot, destroy, but I also want you to build and plant. And so the part in this book that we're really emphasizing is the part where the watchman learns how to be a builder, how to be a planter, how to be creative. And we're not just talking about building church buildings. Definitely not talking about building church buildings, but we're talking about being people builders. We're talking about being, when Christ said, upon this rock will I build my church. Notice he didn't say, I will build the kingdom. He said, I will build my church, because we advance the kingdom, but we build people. The kingdom is within people, but we build the people, and the people need to be built up. But we can be creative in that. And if you look in that, and I'm going to come on some other times to break some things down about what Apostle Bernard talks about. But, you can be creative in your illustrations. Ezekiel was very illustrative. Jeremiah illustrative, very demonstrative, very creative. The skills that we see going on in Hollywood, acting, demonstrating, doing different things, drawing, all these things that are being used in the world, or even being used in a certain format. Those things were used on the regular, on the daily, to communicate God's message. They were used, and all those things were used to protect. And then when we talk about gates, we're talking about being on the wall and being gates. Gates are not just meant to keep people out, but watchmen have to watch the gates, because they're also meant to be able to make sure that the right people can come in. And that's very important. That's very important, because you're thinking about a nation now. You got spies that come in. You have those who pretend to be with us that are not with us. And those, and I'm talking about in the global body of Christ, or in any nation. You have those who try to come in to destroy. So you want to be able to examine. And this is why God has given watchmen crazy discernment, crazy ability to discern people's hearts. A lot of times when people talk about discernment, they talk about demons, but discernment is not just about seeing demons, but it's about, you may see demons, you may see angels, or you can discern the disposition of a person's heart at that time, or you can discern intentions. And it doesn't mean that you can always discern. And that's why watchmen get in trouble too, because they think because God used them at some point to do something, that they can always do it. And then they fall into presumption and judgment and being extra critical, because God used them to learn some things at times. So we have to be sensitive to the Holy Spirit. We're not talking about doing it in our flesh, but we're talking about doing what God called us to do and being sensitive to His Spirit. But it's all for the sake of protecting a nation of people. We are the nation of Yeshua. We are the nation of Christ. We are the body. But He says we're a royal priesthood. We're a chosen generation, a holy nation. So these things are going to be brought out in the book, and you're going to see your role, and you're going to see how you fit in God's plan to be a creative watchman and to be a mouthpiece for Him. One last thing I'm going to say before I break out of here. Hold up, let me clear these windows up. This is crazy. One of the last things I want to say is that God gave you creative ability, and God gave you creative, relationships and divine connections. God gave you creative ability, not only so that you can be creative, but He gave you creative ability so that you can make a sound that is so unique and distinct that it cannot be duplicated. It's like a complex lock on a door, or a complex lock on something that it's like a combination code or a digital combination. So your creativity can't be duplicated by other people. Your creativity cannot be, it can't be duplicated. It's something that is unique to you. But why is it unique? Because we always talk about everybody's unique. Everybody has their place, and like a self-esteem type thing. But there's a specific purpose for why God uniquely made you the way you are and gave you creative abilities so that you can make a distinct sound as a watchman. that would separate what you're saying from what anybody else is saying, and nobody else can duplicate your message. Because it's very important that you have a distinct sound so that people can know that a real watchman is making noise, is making the sound. So people can know to be alert in a certain way. The sound of a watchman on the tower was different from the sound the watchman at the wall. And then the sound is based upon what's going on. So you don't want to get false alarms. So it's all kind of stuff in there. I'm just telling you, I know both of you are on here now, or it looks like somebody else jumped in there. But most of the people that's going to be on this broadcast are going to get the book anyway, and it's a blessing to you. But I want you to share this because whenever it comes out, we definitely want to get the word out that there is a book about creativity. There's a book about innovation. There's a book about releasing prophetic things in the earth for this day and time. And that's the Watchman Revolution. So I thank y'all for checking in with me, riding with me, my people. Grace and peace. I'm going to talk to you soon. God bless you.